You've been asking me a lot in the comments to review the R36 Plus, R36 Max and R36 Ultra, but honestly I never understood why I should even make reviews of these consoles with square screens. I mean, what's the point of having a square display in a handheld when the vast majority of retro games were made in a 4:3 aspect ratio? That's why for me the perfect budget handhelds have always been the R36S and the G350. But I decided not to leave this question unanswered, so I went ahead and bought what I think is the best budget handheld with a square screen, the Anbernic RG CubeXX. And today, using this console as an example, we're going to figure out what a square screen is actually good for. Before we dive into the screen topic, let's first unbox the console, see what's inside, and take a look at its design. It comes in Anbernic's standard white box. Inside, the console itself is packed securely. Let's set it aside for just a moment. Along with the console, you'll find a quick start guide and a small box. Inside that box is a standard black USB Type-A to USB Type-C charging cable, which is kind of funny considering the console itself is white. Now let's take the console out of its packaging. It looks really sleek and minimalist. I've always loved Anbernic's build quality, and I have zero complaints here. The handheld feels great in the hands, and the plastic has a really nice texture to it. It's slightly matte, which gives it a more premium feel. Let's power it on and check the firmware version. Out of the box, it comes with firmware version 1.0.1. At the time I'm filming this video, the latest version is 1.0.3, so I'll have to update it myself. I've already made a detailed guide on how to install and update firmware on Anbernic consoles using the RG40 as an example. You'll find that video linked in the description box. First, you'll need to go to Anbernic's official website and download the latest firmware. I'm downloading the 32GB version because I'll be using a new microSD card of the same size. Then you'll need to format the card using Disk Utility, that's the standard app on Mac. After that, I use the Balena Etcher app to flash the firmware onto the SD card. This process takes a little while, so be patient. Once it's done, I remove the card from my laptop and insert it into the first slot on the console. Then I power it on, and as you can see, the firmware version has been updated. I also copied my game collection onto a second SD card and popped it into the console as well. Now the console is fully set up and ready to go, so we can enjoy some gaming. But before that, let's take a closer look at the specs and design. The console comes in 3 colors: black, gray and white. It runs on a Cortex-A53 processor with a G31MP2 GPU. It's got 1GB of LPDDR4 RAM, not a lot, but enough to handle most retro systems. A nice bonus is the built-in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi modules, as well as a mini HDMI output for connecting to a TV or monitor. Nothing really new here, we've already seen these specs on the vertical Anbernic 40 series console. What I love about Anbernic consoles is their design. The materials always feel high quality, the build is solid, nothing creaks, and thanks to the ergonomics, it feels really comfortable in your hands. The buttons are glossy with rubber membranes underneath, and they feel great to press. I'm not usually a fan of round D-pads, but Anbernic's are actually pretty good, and the diagonals always register well. The analog sticks are pretty standard, mid-range quality. They've got a rubberized texture and customizable LED lighting, which gives the console a futuristic look. I actually really like this design choice. The bumpers and triggers are also nice, soft, quiet, and they feel like they have rubber membranes too. And before we continue, please like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. This helps me promote the channel. Also, you can click the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos. Thank you for your attention. Let's continue. overall, this is a really solid and well-built console that I can easily recommend. But there is still one thing we haven't figured out yet. What's the point of a square screen? To answer that, I tested a bunch of games across the different retro systems that the console supports. And as expected, the square screen only really works perfectly with Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles. NES games also fit pretty well since they are almost square. There are also some arcade games designed for vertical screens, and in my opinion, this square screen suits them even better than a regular one. A lot of people buy these handhelds for Nintendo DS games, but honestly, I think the 040 is a better option for that. I already reviewed it, and it's just more comfortable for Nintendo DS gaming thanks to its vertical screen. Pico 8 games though look absolutely amazing on this square display. I tested several of them and realized this console feels like it was made for Pico 8. I also ran some performance tests. The console handles everything up to PlayStation and Nintendo 64 just fine. But with PSP games like GTA Vice City, there is a serious drop in frame rate, which makes it hard to enjoy. I tried tweaking the emulator settings, but unfortunately it did not help. So, to sum it all up, this is a really good handheld, but I honestly think the square screen is more of a marketing gimmick than a real necessity. You can play Game Boy, Game Boy Color and Pico 8 games perfectly well on regular 4x3 screen too. But if you're a hardcore Game Boy fan, then yeah, a square display might be a must-have feature for you. In all other cases, I find the bezel around the game distracting and it makes the experience less enjoyable. Personally, I still think 4x3 is the ideal aspect ratio for retro gaming. That way, you don't get distracted by the bezel, you can stretch the game to fill the whole screen, and it feels just like playing on the original consoles. So in the future, I'll probably skip reviewing handhelds with square screens. They only really make sense for a small number of retro systems, and I prefer more universal options. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I wish you pleasant nostalgia and successful completion of your favorite games.